Hello, everyone. Welcome to a discussion of the chosen one trope or archetype, perhaps, depending on how you want to talk about it. Well, we are going to talk about it. And for my very special guest today, it's Gregory and Gregory Kontaxis. Did I pronounce that correctly? I forgot
Yeah,
to ask you, actually.
actually, it's very correct.
Gregory Kontaxis, author of The Return of the Knights. This is the first book in the Dance of Light series. And you actually are, I believe, releasing book number four, is it?
Four, yes, in
Yeah,
September.
that is coming out in September. Congratulations, Gregory, on that.
Thank
That
you
is
so much.
fantastic. I have read Return of the Knights, so I'm excited to bring it into this discussion. This is one of my usual discussions that I like to have with my indie author friends about various topics that are relevant to fantasy in general. And you do have well, we'll talk about it. Elliot in The Return of the Knights is someone that we could possibly bring into this conversation, I think, of the chosen one. But before we start with any specific examples, Gregory, what do you think is the chosen one? What is a chosen one? What does that mean to you? Let's try to define it if we can. What exactly is a
Yeah,
chosen?
sure. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for having me in this discussion. So to your question, I think the chosen one trope in general speaks to something very, very human because we all want to believe that our life has a meaning, so a kind of purpose, let's say.
Yeah.
So in books, we take that and we put it in an extreme, let's say, because there is a person that it's not we don't only give meaning to his or her life, it's just that they are destined to do great things. So it's something really human. And sometimes when we write books, in some specific moments, we like live the life of the protagonist. So maybe the authors feel a bit special as well,
Ah,
in some of these moments. So yeah, we put that in an extreme, and we try to say that an ordinary person practically carries the fate of the world. So I think from this human nature, this trope stems, and I think it will always be there. I don't see a moment that authors will stop doing that completely, honestly.
uh-huh. Okay, so you said several really important things there. One, you mentioned the word destiny, I believe, and that does seem to be a common, maybe even essential characteristic of a chosen one. Can you have a chosen one without a sense of destiny? Because this person is chosen after all, right? By fate or destiny or some higher entity. I mean, we could talk about
Yes.
what
I
is
mean,
doing the choosing here, after all.
yeah.
Something is, right? And that often comes in the form of a prophecy, I think. That is not. Would you say that prophecy is essential, or just a sense of destiny is enough for a chosen one to be a legitimate chosen one?
I think you can think about it in many ways. Maybe it's a prophecy from a human who can communicate with more powerful beings, gods, or something like a prophet. Who, yeah, you can see that in Greek mythology, in Roman stuff, even in Egypt. So, or it can just be something like from really wise people that they thought that a specific person would have some, let's say, qualities or will be born in a specific period of time that something else will happen. A, a full moon, or yeah, full moon is very common, but something more unique, let's say.
Hmm.
And you can decide that in many ways, but I think to have really a chosen one, most of the time you have a like more powerful being evolved as well.
Okay.
So
Okay. That
like
which is
somebody who yeah.
conferring the choice, right?
Yeah,
This.
exactly. Something above, let's say, humans or other creatures in the world that your story takes place that will decide that this specific person will be like the chosen one and his destiny will be to do something, save the world or destroy it. I
Uh-huh.
mean, yeah, the chosen one could be many different things.
It does seem to me that the chosen one is often, and I don't know if this is essential or not, but it does seem to me that it is often wrapped up in matters of faith.
Yep.
in many books. Like I'm reading the Sun Eater series right now, and which definitely has a chosen one type character at its heart, and there are very interesting ways in which Christopher Rocchio, the author, is playing with this trope, with this pattern, is doing some very interesting, different things, I think, as well. And of course, Dune is a major influence. And when we talk about the chosen one trope, you have to mention Dune
Yeah,
because
true.
it's probably exhibit A for what an author can do when they twist that trope into something where that chosen one seems like the prophesied figure, the deliverer, the Messiah person. And there's always, it seems like there's a heavy messianic aspect to the way we have our chosen one, particularly maybe this, I don't know, is it coming from the Judaic Christian tradition? Is there an element there where that seems to be a reverberation, if you will? I'm
Yep.
not sure, but Dune is an example where it goes wrong, in a sense. So there are ways to subvert this, ways to flip it on its head, but you're still, even when you're doing that, you're engaging with this trope, aren't you? You're engaging with the pattern, whether you have a more
Yes,
traditional, bright and shiny chosen one or a chosen one who starts to scare the heebie-jeebies out of you, right? So you could go
correct.
all kinds of directions with this, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have seen that in many different like books and movies. Like even in Star Wars, which is not a book,
Anakin,
you
yeah,
see Anakin who will restore the Force and the balance in the Force, and he turns
yeah,
to Darth Vader, and then he changes again. So maybe the chosen one trope is more like a person will have the power to change the world in a bad or a good way. Like we cannot be sure what this will be until we see his or her decisions because it's still a person with free will. So he's the chosen one to change something. So he will carry more responsibility for another person, maybe, but we don't know in which direction this will go. So maybe in most of the stories, I could say, and maybe until the final conclusion, the real destination, maybe we'll have many changes as well in the decisions that we might see some swifts and stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't say that when because most of the times people think that when you have a chosen one, always it will be for good, but
uh-huh.
it's not like that, I would say.
Yes. Okay. So you mentioned the phrase free will. And I
Yep.
think that's very interesting because there's a paradox here, I think. And we often see that moment in the chosen one trope when the character has to decide, yes, I am going to embrace this destiny, right? But if it's fate or destiny that's put you there in the first place, are you actually choosing, right? Or have you been chosen? Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, there's a
It,
paradox here where, and I think a lot of authors play with this, this ambiguity of does this character actually have free will if they're the chosen one already? Or, does the
yeah.
character in that choosing become the chosen one, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I mean that's hard. Actually, you don't choose to be the chosen one to have this power to
Right.
decide what will happen. And
Something
actually,
bigger
I
than you
think
has to put you there,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
And I think that this gives these characters some personality and depth in the sense that if they fight that, if they don't want to be the chosen one and
Right.
they feel it as a burden in their shoulders,
Yeah.
that makes them interesting as well
Yes.
because it's a very big weight to carry if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Save the world. Okay. Yeah. No
yeah.
problem. So you see
So
that a lot with like Rand al'Thor in The Wheel of Time, for
exactly.
example. Yeah. There's this
But
resistance to the call.
yes, 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 exactly, exactly. Especially at the beginning that he tries to decide, but then yeah, he switches here and there all the time. That's an interesting example from the Wheel of Time. But yeah, on the other side though, even in real life, sometimes people have to go through some situations that they don't choose, but they have the power to change something. So, I mean, you have the free will to decide if you will do something for better or for worse, let's say, not destroy the world or not. I mean, some people have this power as well.
Mhm.
Um, but but yeah, you cannot decide if you will born with a power, that's for sure. So some stuff are just, in a sense, some people will say destiny, some people will say the will of the gods, some people will say just luck, so or
Yeah.
bad luck. Yeah,
If
it
you if
depends
you
on
if
the
it if
point of
it's usually
view.
a pretty rough journey, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just the point of view. Yeah, I mean, especially in Greek mythology, you can see many of these things.
Yeah, let's
So
talk
like,
about that. Since you are actually
yeah,
Greek, and
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, like probably a lot of the people listening to this. So, yeah, you've got several examples that we could talk about there, don't you? You have, Theseus, Jason, for example. You've got
Oedipus.
Odysseus, in a sense, right? That
Yes.
Odysseus is in the headlines these days because of the Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan film, The Odyssey. So, yeah, what would you want to say about Greek mythology in relation to the Chosen One? Do you see a
Yeah.
straightforward presentation of the trope there?
Hmm. So I think it's not. So in Greek mythology, you don't see that much a person that, I mean, be born and how and he or her are the chosen one to change the world or something. It's more about their fate is decided before, and
Aha.
they try really hard to fight against this decision. So you see that with Achilles as well. I
Oh,
think
good.
it's a better example than Odysseus because
Huh.
Achilles actually he has two choices. His mom, who is a semi-god, says to him that practically if you go to Troy, everybody will remember you, but you will
Mhm.
die. If you stay here, you will have sons and daughters. I mean, they will remember you until they die, maybe your grandchildren as well, but you will have a happy life until you pass, but that's it. Nobody else will remember you. And he knows that deep in his heart that he will go to Troy and probably die, but he goes there and he tries to do everything to I mean, in a sense, he tries to do everything to remain in history and stay alive, but in the end, he dies because he does extreme things after a point.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
and also another very good example is Oedipus,
Okay.
who actually his
Oedipus.
fate,
Yes.
yeah, Oedipus.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
I'm saying the name
You're
with the
saying it
Greek.
correctly. I'm just saying it the
Yeah.
way people with, English speakers would understand. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because he knows the prophecy that he will kill his parents. So his
Yeah.
parents gave him away. He grew up with other parents, not his biological parents, and he thought that the prophecies for his, let's say, not biological parents. So, and then he meets randomly his dad and kills him without knowing that he's his dad.
Ancient
And
road
he
rage. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And he spends all his life practically to not harm his parents. And then he ends up, because he kills his real father, to marry his mom,
Yeah.
because she's the queen. So, yeah, I mean, so much effort to avoid faith, and it's just.
Yeah. I've got to say though that if I've heard a prophecy that I'm going to marry my mother, I'm going to avoid older women, you know?
True, true. Or marry at all. It's like.
Maybe, yeah, just skip the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, you mentioned an important element in this pattern of the chosen one, which is resistance to the call, resistance to fate. And this is something that, people like Joseph Campbell, who has the guy who talks about the hero's journey, talks about as one of these steps along the journey. Another part of the pattern seems to be the idea of humble beginnings, or being the protagonist, the chosen one being an orphan, right? It's how many orphans do we have who are chosen ones?
Yeah.
So many orphans, or maybe seemingly humble, but then it turns out, oh, actually, no, this person is actually really special. They have royal lineage, or something like Aragorn and Lord of the Rings, who is really, I don't think that Frodo or Bilbo are chosen ones, but Aragorn is a more classic example of a chosen one there. Frodo and Bilbo are just, they're the every people in the story. They're us. They're the little hobbits who are just struggling in this mythological world and making choices through free will. Another important concept through all of this. But that idea of the hero, the chosen one, coming from these humble beginnings, being an orphan, Harry Potter,
Exactly. I was
great
thinking that.
modern example of, I mean, it really it follows that pattern pretty closely, actually.
Yeah.
Orphan lives a very difficult childhood, but there's this sense of destiny that finally pulls, Harry into this
Yeah.
magical world
Also,
where
Jon
he has a
Snow.
very specific purpose, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Foretold.
also, Jon Snow is a very recent one.
Yes, Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Great example. Again, well, orphan of a sort, right?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Yep, yep. I mean, yeah, there's always little variations on this, but the idea of being an orphan or not having at least one parent, I mean, it's all over the place. It's in a Wizardiverse. It's in the myths too. It's
Yeah.
just all over the place. So what do you think that is? Because Elliot, I don't think it's a big spoiler to say our your character Elliot is an orphan,
Yep.
and has seemingly humble beginnings when we meet him in the story. So it's certainly a part of the pattern that you chose to embrace as well. So what do you think this is with this idea of humble beginnings? Again, you said something about, this is something we as readers want to identify with, right? But most of us are not orphans. Like if you compare the
Sure.
percentage of orphans who are protagonists in stories to the percentage of actual orphans in the world, I'm sure there's a big difference, right? So what do you think it is? Why the humble beginnings? You see it all over the place. What is this?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, honestly. I think authors, as myself, do that most of the time because if you have an orphan or a bastard in case of Jon Snow, or all of these humble beginnings, you have a character that he thinks he has like no power at all, or she. Um, he will spend or see again all his or her life doing to be like a peasant or doing something really like simple and boring, let's say. And then
Mhm.
these characters realize that they're destined for something way bigger that they never imagined. And at the same time, because it's a very big transition, you have two cases. Or this character will remain humble because he started humble, or they will become really arrogant because this transition is massive
Yeah.
to start from like nobody to be the person who the fate of the world is in your hands.
Hmm.
So you can play with many narratives in the character around that. And that's why I think people do this. I mean, in real life, maybe we don't have orphans that much, but many people love a story of a self made person who
Uh-huh.
started from nothing. I mean, these days there are many people that say they're self-made because that sells, and they are not really. But people love a story of somebody who started from nothing, really. Maybe not orphan, but maybe his parents weren't good or gave him or her away. So he suffered in the childhood and then became, or even not, maybe they were just very poor, and they became something big and they had very power. They could decide many things in their country or the world in general. So it exists in another form in real life. And I think that in fantasy, especially because my fantasy is more medieval, and at this age also we had a lot of murder and looting and stuff when there was a war. So it
Yeah,
was easy for
machinations
people.
going on
Yeah,
all over the
exactly,
place. Yeah.
and suffering and torturing. So it was very easy for people to die, to pass, and to have a kid growing without parents. So also it fits maybe a little bit better the concept in some cases of
Hmm.
fantasy. It depends what you write, of course. And yeah, I think also it gives you a lot of room to develop a character and choose where you want to go.
Hmm.
So if they will become more arrogant or more humble, or they will stay humble actually because they started like that. And I think it's a nice trope in fantasy. I think people will never get bored of that, honestly.
Yeah, well, I think you made a great point too about the expansiveness, the scope of the journey that the character undergoes. And it's even greater if you come from the sort of more humble origins, even that if that's only a facade and that actually the character turns out to be the prince or or
Yep.
has some a bloodline that's very special. There's usually something about the protagonist, that some unique ability that they possess. It might be something magical even, that makes them special or different. And I suppose what you said in the beginning too is that, and then when we're reading their journey, we are identifying with the character,
Yeah.
and perhaps that sense of specialness bleeds into the reader a little bit, but it is perhaps made more apparent by the humbleness of the beginning to where the character ends up, and it allows I mean, you think again, Randall Thor, great example of humble to that's a big journey. If you get to the end of the Wheel of Time, it's a vast journey.
Yeah.
The character arcs are huge there. So that tends to be the case with all of these chosen ones. So yeah, great insight there, I would say. You
Thank you.
also have a sense of, and this is the one where I find it very interesting interplay between the idea of free will and fate, and the sense of inescapable fate, that the protagonist has been chosen, and therefore, you know, do they genuinely get to choose to fight, to go on the journey, or are they bound to do it? Is there an option? What happens if they don't? If they say no? And that's another thing you find a lot in
Mm.
these journeys, is that resistance. We talked about it already. But the idea of fate versus free will is a thing that fascinates me. And, I just find that it's one facet of this that allows the modern author to really have some scope here, in their story. Um, do you which do you lean toward in, because I've only read the first book, so I don't actually know. Is it
Uh,
the
yeah.
case that the hero has to choose, would you say, in your own writing, as you reflect on it, or is it inevitable that the hero has to do this no matter what? Like if they even decide, no, I'm not going to do this, something else intervenes to set them on the path anyway. You see what I'm saying? Um,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in my stories, most of the characters, because it's not only Elliot, actually, they have to choose.
yeah.
So they will end up in a situation, in a path at some point of the story that they will have to choose, but each choice might come with pain. So maybe if you do it, you will lose many friends. If you
Hmm.
decide to ignore your destiny, maybe again you might lose friends or something else. So every choice has a big impact, let's say.
Hmm.
And I plan to publish also a prequel in March before the finale of the series.
Great.
So the title will be The Pendant of Creation, and there I play with this trope a little bit again.
Okay.
And I like to give to the characters the choice, and I like them also to be young because it makes it even harder sometimes. When you're young, you're not that mature, so you have to make. I mean, sometimes you're not that mature; it's not forgiven.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
I was
you
an
have.
idiot when I was young, so
Depends, I guess. So yeah, I really like to give this choice to people that they are not even ready to take it. So it's
yeah.
to decide because I think it makes them really interesting.
And it
That's my
seems to me that when you lean more toward the element of choice, then you can also get into the idea of sacrifice.
yeah,
This character knows that deciding to go on the journey, to do the thing that saves the kingdom or the world or whatever it is, they're going to lose something.
yeah,
And does
and
that make it more
exactly.
compelling to you then? Do you feel?
Yes, and sacrifice is something really important in general in my story. So the whole,
Hmm.
I don't want to give spoilers. This is something really tiny, but the whole magic of the Picassi that exists in my story
Yeah.
comes from sacrifice.
Ah,
So it's something you can discover later in the series,
yeah.
but it stems from that, and also it's something also that you can see a lot in Greek mythology.
The idea that
Yeah,
magic comes through
sacrifice is
sacrifice.
important. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. I mean, for Odysseus to go down to Hades, he has to make a sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
To get that knowledge. So, okay, I like that a lot. So you have more moments of sacrifice in here, where
Yes.
the the characters have to choose. So in that sense, it feels like it's not a larger entity that is doing the choosing. It's the characters themselves. So you're. It sounds like really falling more on the side of free will then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the first book in my series is so it was the first book I ever written. So it was more classic fantasy, I would say, cozy, epic fantasy.
Uh-huh.
Then in the rest of the series, I went a little bit unclassic, I would say. So
Uh-huh.
many things change and happen, and people become more gray, and more people might have a choice to change the world. So it doesn't stay in one person.
So you
It
get a little more
expands a lot.
subversive as the
Yeah.
series continues. All right.
Yeah, the first book was more. I wasn't that experienced, so I tried to be. It was the first book I ever wrote, and yeah, I mean, I changed some stuff in my writing after that also.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was an interesting journey, I
Well,
would
I would
say.
say that there's some grisly stuff that happens, though, even
Yeah,
in Return of the Knights. It's not, a
true.
walk in the park here. I wouldn't call it
Yeah.
cozy. I wasn't thinking cozy at all. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
much more epic fantasy. I actually felt that the second half of your book was quite strong, and that there were some really great character moments. So yeah, I mean, just keep reading, people, and you'll
Yeah.
be rewarded. But yeah, the second half had some really great character moments where there's a kind of an older mentor who's along with Elliot by the name of John.
Yeah,
Uh, I loved some of the interactions between the two of them, particularly as the story progressed. I thought that was a strong point, and it does seem like a common enough element too in the chosen one trope or pattern is that there's a mentor figure, right?
yeah. That's true. That's
And
true.
you see it with, again, Harry Potter. There's Dumbledore, in Star Wars with Anakin, of course. There's Obi-Wan, and then and on we can go. King Arthur has his Merlin, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that starts way back. Hercules had the centaur, Huron. So
yep,
yeah, it goes so back. You can see that even in ancient Egypt, everywhere. It's very
yep.
common.
Another part of the pattern. It feels like in the beginning, the mentor's role is to give the protagonist, the chosen one, a kick in the pants to get them out of their womb-like comfortable space out into
Yes.
the world. Come on, you got a destiny to follow. Let's go. And there's that resistance. No, I like it here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, true. And also what I really like with a mentor is when they fail.
yeah,
So that makes the story interesting, I think.
yeah, yeah. Because before John, of course, I'm not going to say a whole lot, but Elliot has a mentor that you actually it's a relationship that happens prior to events in the story,
Yeah,
is
true.
basically the way you handled that. And that is a relationship that Elliot is struggling with and figuring out. But that is the person who set him on this path, so to speak,
Exactly. Exactly.
that recognized the potential within him, perhaps. And that's an important function of the mentor, obviously. And often enough, the mentor has to get out of the way, usually by dying
Yeah,
in the course of the story, so that the young protagonists can uh, do their thing, can choose
exactly.
to be that hero, and go out and fulfill their destiny, as it were. So yeah,
Yeah, many times they leave an impact as well. Depends how they will die. Maybe they sacrifice for them. Maybe also the protagonist will find that the mentor, who is wise and everything, or he knows better because he's older, in his earlier life he did bad things.
right.
So they yeah.
Or
So
that
they
the mentor, I mean, Dumbledore does all kinds of horrible things to Harry, right?
yeah.
Puts them in all kinds of. We're talking about kids here. The Hogwarts is quite a dangerous place,
Yeah,
for children to
it's a
be
really
hanging around.
dangerous place.
And Harry's put in all kinds of danger by his mentor figure. So that seems to be a common enough element here, right?
Yeah,
Is the
and
mentor
then
figure morally correct
true.
for doing these things?
Exactly. And then in the end, you learn that actually Snape was trying to save him in many
Yeah,
situations. So
yeah.
it's,
Or Snape. Yeah. But that brings to us to some, the thing about the chosen one trope here. We haven't talked about this side of it yet, but it is something that gets a lot of criticism. You'll find readers who are like, "Oh, I hate this trope or that trope." And, to me, a trope is a tool and you can use it well and you can, do some new things with it, but it exists for a reason. It meets some psychological need. It is responding to some social phenomena. It is part
yeah.
of our communal cauldron of stories for a reason. It's there. We have this because it it captures an important part of our existence, right? Something that we all go through. Nevertheless, you do have people who say, "Oh no, this has been done so many times," or "It's predictable." We know the hero is destined to win, so we know how it's going to end, right? And that kind of thing. Also, you can risk having a chosen one character who's a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, right? The idea that, oh, they're just so perfect, and maybe they were an orphan, but now everything they do just turns to gold, right? And it's almost boring
Yeah.
how successful. No
True.
relatable flaws, right? So how would you respond to criticisms of people who say, no, we're done with the chosen one. It's been exhausted. There's nothing new you can do with it.
I mean, people are gonna read what they want to read. This will never change. But personally, I would never say that I will never read again this kind of trope. Maybe I will say I don't like this genre in general, and I don't read this specific genre. But with tropes, depends how the author will play with it. And you might end up really like it because it will be something different in a sense that, okay, I think after a point it's obvious in the Song of Ice and Fire that Jon Snow is the chosen one.
Hmm.
If you see the end of the story, you feel like he won. I mean, he
Which, of
lost
course,
so
we haven't
much.
seen the end of the written version,
Yeah,
have
yeah, exactly. So
we?
if yeah, correct. If we judge by the series, because I think that even George, I know that the fans hopes for something else, but George have said that the main points might be the same.
Oh,
So maybe details change, but yeah, so nobody can say that he's really happy with the outcome.
yeah,
Um, yeah, in a sense, they won, but in the end, he had to kill Danny.
yeah. In the show,
So
at least, yeah.
yeah, in the show, yeah, we don't know what will happen in the book. So in this specific, let's say that it would end this way. We can't say that this was really a win, even if he was the chosen one of the God of Light or anything. So yeah, it can play with many different ways. I mean, if you have a chosen one who is perfect, no flaws, wins all the time, yeah, in that case, it might be boring, let's say.
Uh-huh.
But if you play around the trope, it's not forgiven. And also, you might start with a trope like that and then end up to the prophecy was wrong. People understood wrong what the prophecy
People
said.
are always messing up prophecies.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah, prophecy again, it's matter of interpretation. So yeah, you don't speak with the God itself who made it, or maybe there is a prophet or somebody who can, but yeah, depends if you trust them as well. So yeah, you can play around it with many ways, and depends. So, but if a person read many books with that, and they feel like I'm done with this, yeah, that's a personal decision. But I think there are so many different ways you can create a story with different tropes that people will be surprised that, oh, I read that one more time and it was good and interesting because the
Hmm.
author made something new with it.
So, in other words, you do think that there are new things to say with this trope or archetype.
Yes, yes. And I think also that you can have a story that even in the end somebody wins, but they lost so much that the whole trope that they were the chosen one is not even important.
Uh-huh. Kind
Because
of
they lost so much that,
hmm,
yeah,
like a
i-
Pyrrhic victory of a sort.
exactly.
Or that they lost their soul or or whatever they were in the beginning that made them special. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there are all kinds of twists and ways to go about it, I suppose. But I don't think it's going away either. And it seems there seems to be, a great appeal to it that many people seem to uh, vibe with the idea of a special person who can somehow save us from the darkness or the evil lord or whatever it might be, the impending doom. And it
mm,
may be something that's just so deeply ingrained in our psyche as people that it would be
yeah,
difficult to dislodge that we're always going to have versions of this.
yeah, correct. And I think after a point there is a trope for everything. There are so many stories out there.
Hmm.
So there are so many different tropes. That yeah, I mean you cannot avoid them all. So it's a story. It's a mix of different things, different characters, their interactions, how the character will decide what he or her gonna do. So it's many things that create the story. It's not just the initial trope or some tropes that somebody might use. That's why I will never say, "Oh, I'm bored of this trope. I will stop here." I mean,
Hmm.
even if you think another trope like start with an anti-hero, somebody that he's not the chosen one, but he was a bounty hunter or a pirate or something like that, so nothing special, or just a peasant, and they did something great, which is another trope that you see a lot. So there are so many different things that you can say they are tropes. So definitely in fantasy, you will see some of those. If we start with a prince, let's say, that
Yeah.
has everything solved and just realizes that also he realize that he's the chosen one, or without even this trope, does great things.
Yeah.
This might be also boring in the sense that this person already got born with many like gifts and luck and he was
Super
privileged.
qualities.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So maybe this will not be interesting. So yeah, the tropes exist for a reason because give depth sometimes. And yeah, I mean every author used them in another way.
Hmm. It seems to me too that when you look at what does a chosen one actually do, right? At least in the more traditional pattern. We know that when it goes south, when when the chosen one turns into like in Dune, for example, then the chosen one can be very destructive, actually. But in the cases where the chosen one, what does saving the world mean, right? And it feels to me like there is oftentimes a sense of restoration that
Mm,
people seem to long for something they can't even quite express, something that they feel like a sort of Garden of Eden type thing that once upon a time existed, but now it's out of reach. But if we could have that special person bring that back for us, right? To
yeah.
a sense of restoration. Do you see what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
think
yeah, exactly. And
there's a
save the world.
longing in us there that maybe this story is trying to meet.
Yeah, yeah, correct. And save the world again, it's yeah, you nobody can stop, for example, all the wars or something like that. It's more about leaving something good or bad behind.
Hmm.
But in a fantasy story, it will be a little bit bigger than just, let's say, erase a very good child. So it will be something bigger, but
Right.
leave something good, not save the world in the sense that nothing will ever happen again. Nobody will ever do something bad in the future. Yeah, that's impossible. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. So we did talk about some examples in Greek mythology, and I mentioned Joseph Campbell as well. And there's a lot of myths and stories I was thinking though that I feel like the chosen one is something, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to think of non-Western stories now. Do you feel that the chosen one is especially prevalent in Western storytelling with our messianic traditions, our Judeo-Christian traditions? Where there's obviously at the heart of the Christian religion is a kind of chosen one of a sort, isn't there? Although there's again an element of choice as well there in that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of like, for example, East Asia, and I'm not as well read when it comes to that part of the world, or South Asia, or the South America, maybe, or something. I'm just trying to think of
Mm.
stories from other parts. Um, what I'm trying to get at is this a human thing, or is it a cultural thing? This need for this figure who restores us to what we were.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm reading some. I've just recently started to get into manga, for example, right? And I'm reading One Piece, which has been a lot of fun for
Yeah.
me. And I'm starting to see more elements of a kind of a chosen one narrative within One Piece, which is interesting to me. That initially I was like, oh, okay, we're going here. All right, I see where this might be going. I don't know if I can quite call it that at this point, but but I don't know if you're familiar with One Piece or not. But yeah, is it a Western thing more, or is it just a human thing, do you think?
I think it's more a human thing. And
Uh-huh.
personally, I don't watch One Piece. It's my partner's favorite show,
Okay,
but
cool. Yeah.
I haven't started yet. I think it's like 1,000 episodes or something.
Oh, yeah, it's really long.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so she's a massive fan, but yeah, I haven't started yet. But I think it's more a human thing, and even in Asia, I think you see this trope. I have some mangas in my mind. I don't remember the titles, but for example, even with the Avatar of the Last Airbender, that was a
Aha.
movie.
Yeah.
So again, you see this trope in a bit to, yeah, it's the Last Airbender that nobody exists anymore, and there is the last one, and he will restore something. So you see these kind of tropes even in Asia, I would say. I'm
Mm.
not sure about Africa or Latin America because I haven't read that many fantasy stories.
Aha.
But I believe it's more a human thing because I'm sure that every human thinks, what is the purpose of my life?
Yeah.
And they build a story on that when they write. It's a very human thing.
Yeah.
So, and especially people that might suffer in some parts of their lives, and they think there is a reason for that. It might make me a better person, or I will do something that will influence my family or even the world. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think it's a very human thought, honestly. We
Yeah.
just expanded a lot in fantasy.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful answer. Thank you. And I'd like to give you a chance to, I mean, I enjoyed your handling thus far, at least in the Return of the Knights. And I don't know where you're going to go, which is a good thing in the rest of the series as far as this goes. But I really love what I've encountered so far.
Thank
And
you. Thank you so much.
um, are there other? You've mentioned A Song of Ice and Fire. Do you have other like favorites, examples for you of the Chosen One where you feel like it's been handled really well?
Uh, Let me think. Yeah, it's all of these that we mentioned, like Star Wars, Harry Potter,
Yeah.
Wheel of Time again. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say that in most of because I really like John Abercrombie, but I wouldn't say that we see the
Oh,
chosen
he
one from
tries to
there.
subvert that stuff. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's not. I saw it in your books as well.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, I
So
definitely have. I
yeah,
think if you only read the first book, you could even be forgiven for thinking that it's a very traditional chosen one kind of narrative. But I think if you get to the end of the trilogy, you'll find that
yeah,
it's
you. I
yeah.
see, I see, I
There are
see.
more, yeah, no, but yeah, definitely playing with the archetype, playing with the trope. But I think it gets more, for me, at least I hope it gets more interesting as the trilogy progresses. And then I think when you get to the third and finish it, you can even go back and find signs of those subversions in the earlier books. But
Exactly, I see. And you see it in Lord of the Rings as well, as we discussed. You might, I'm not sure if Kaladin can be considered as a chosen one,
in the
but it's
Stormlight
somebody who
Archive,
starts
yeah,
really, really humble as well, from humble origin. And
yeah. I feel like Sanderson leans into the Chosen One even more in the Mistborn
yeah,
trilogy
yeah,
with Vin. Uh,
true.
I think that's where you really see Sanderson leaning on that the most. You can find elements of it, I'm sure, though, in the Stormlight Archive too, which I actually
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
finished yet.
It,
But yeah.
I really like Stormlight Archive, so
Okay.
it's
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, this has been a really lovely discussion, Gregory. I appreciate your willingness to sit with me and discuss this. Um, I'm always on the lookout for myself. It's a trope that I enjoy, and I mentioned the Sun Eater series, which is maybe one of my favorite recent examples of encountering this trope, because I think Gracchio does some really interesting things with it. So
yeah, I
uh,
want to read this series. It's
yeah. Oh,
my
it's been a
TBR.
ton of fun, ton of fun. Great space opera, which, yeah, if you're a sci-fi reader but you like your tropes, then I'd say space opera in general, but Sun Eater specifically is a great, great series. But yeah, this has been so much fun. Where's the best place for people to get a hold of your books, Gregory?
So of course, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for the discussion as well. It was a
Yeah.
great time. So thank you so much for having me. About my books, I mean, you can find them in Amazon, all the big bookstores like Barnes and Noble. There is a signed edition also in Broken Binding. So
Okay.
there is a number and signed edition, but I think only like 10 books are left. So
Oh,
if
okay.
people
There you
want one
go.
of
Better scoop
those,
them up.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have to run a little bit. And there is an audiobook as well, in Audible. And my prequel novella, The Night of the Moon, the ebook is free if you subscribe in my website.
Okay.
Besides that, all the major retailers have the books available, so practically you can find them everywhere.
Are the audiobooks available for all the books that are out now?
No, this is yeah. Besides book four that it's not released yet,
Oh,
so I think the audiobook will be available like 2, 3 months after the release of the physical and the
maybe
ebook.
by the
So
end of the year.
yeah, exactly,
Okay, so the audiobooks are available for all the books currently out. And then for the fourth book, which will be out in September, the audiobook will
exactly,
be available a few months later. Okay.
exactly. Only the prequel novella, The Night of the Moon, doesn't have an audiobook because it's short. So
Yeah. Okay.
there's not an audiobook for this one.
That makes sense. But you can get it for free
Yep,
from your website, which I will put
exactly.
in the description as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gregory. It was a pleasure reading Return of the Knights. I look forward to the rest of the series. This has been a pleasure. We've interacted, on various social media
Oh
platforms.
yes,
It's our
for so
first time
long.
getting to chat, so I thank you for that. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching, but that is it for us for now. Until next time.